Chantel here. Wanted to talk about a few things. One, I've gotten a lot of questions lately relating to why I cut my hair. And I feel like I should talk about that, primarily because it didn't dawn on me until I started doing new videos on YouTube that the last time I posted, I had very long locks. And then I come back and they're gone. And so I've gotten some messages just asking, really curious why I did that. And I want to talk about it because I feel like it can be a difficult answer based on where someone is in their level of consciousness. So I'm going to talk about that today. And I think it's also a good topic as we are entering into a new era, a new season, even with going into a new year in 2025. So much of this connects of just how do you become in tune with what season you're in, and whether you're in a season of change or even just something as simple as how do you know when it's time to release something, whether it's your hair or a relationship or a thought pattern, all of those things. So I hope that this video and this conversation will serve you well in thinking through it. So why did I cut my locks? For one, let me say this. My hope also in this conversation is to begin to share a side of me that I just feel like many people don't know. I am a very intuitive person. I am a very spiritual person. I am someone who looks for answers to life's biggest questions. That guides me, it excites me, it fascinates me, and in essence, I have come to accept that that is a big part of who I am and essentially why I have come here, right? To discover myself in this way. So when someone even asks, why did you cut your hair? I can't even give you a simple answer that I think most people are probably looking forward to. Like, I get a lot of people asking me questions and they just be like, dang, that's deep. And I'm just a deep person. So I had my locks 7 years. I started them during my season entering motherhood. And that was such a big shift for me, in my identity, all of those things. And again, I never do things just for the sake of doing them. So for me, my locks were not just this thing to do because everyone was doing it or into this natural hair movement. It was spiritual to me. I take motherhood as a sacred responsibility. I knew that I was entering into a new season that I wanted to be highly in tune with. And so for me, I remember an elder saying, your locks are like your antennas, because our hair is full of energy. And I definitely believe that we are energetic and spiritual beings that are just having a human experience here on earth. And so I wanted to lock into that. I wanted to lock in to that divine connection, that divine download, that divine knowledge through my hair. And so me locking my hair was a symbolism of entering into that journey, especially entering into motherhood, because of course I had never been a mother before, but I also felt as though this path was one of generational healing for me. And I needed to be in tune. So that's why I started my Locs. And through even those 7 years, I had to make some big decisions that I didn't know I was going to experience at the onset of starting my Locs. Between, I'll be transparent, a divorce with my first marriage. I had to be divinely guided into making that big decision and knowing what was next for me. So I needed that clarity. I needed that connection. Again, locking in to that divine wisdom. I was specifically seeking and asking for that. So my Locs helped me to go through that process. I was also making a career 180. I needed divine guidance on that. So my Locs helped me to lock into that direction and be that compass. So a lot happened within that 7 years. It was also a lot of just trauma of going through those experiences. Definitely beautiful things that happen, especially becoming a mother, but just so many changes that it was a rough patch. Gratefully, new beginnings even did happen within that time period of getting a second chance at love and finding my life partner, who is my husband, Darius. And again, I needed to be divinely in tune even while dating him to know, is this right? You know, I didn't want to make I don't want to say mistakes, because I believe that everything happens for a reason and a season. But I wanted to know and be certain, you know? So needless to say, the earlier and mid part of those 7 years, it was rough. It was a lot of self-discovery. It was a lot of, seeing my shadow self. I was taking on a lot of negative energy. So sometimes you also got to be careful in what you're locking into, because as much as I was intending to lock in to positive frequency, clarity, and insight, I was still locking into a lot of low frequency energy during that phase that I also did not want. So fast forward, I started getting at around year 6 that, I wonder what I'm going to do next with my hair. I started getting that feeling like I think I'm getting close to releasing them. But I couldn't quite determine if it was self-guided or divinely guided, but I landed on just saying, you know what, Chantel, you'll know when it's time. I started my locks started to get real long, and it just felt crazy to even start thinking about cutting them off, because I remember visualizing, at first being just kind of vain, just having these long, luxurious locks, and it being to the length that I wanted. I think when they start their locks, their intention is to grow them nice and long and all of those things. And here I am, and I got to that point, and I remember just feeling like, this is heavy, this is just simply getting physically heavy. When you wash your hair, if you've ever had locks, you know that anytime your hair is wet, it's just heavy. So my neck was hurting when I'm in the shower, when I'm just trying to retwist. It just was heavy. And then I started to make the connection that it wasn't just heavy physically. I started to notice that energetically it was heavy. And I hadn't made that connection before of over the past 7 years, energetically, all that I was carrying, that much of which I have done deep work, especially through therapy, self-work, of trying to heal from and trying to release, but I was still carrying that here. I was still carrying that in my consciousness. I was still carrying that on my head, which if you understand, your chakras up in this area, you need that to be a clear path. But for me, it was heavy. So again, I told myself, you'll know when it's time. And I kept trying to convince myself, like, no, maybe you don't mean cut it off. Maybe you mean it's time to maybe cut it a little bit, maybe try a different style, but surely you don't want to cut off your long locks. But I knew that it was coming. So around this time, the summer is approaching, and I said, well, you know what? I think 40 would be the best time for me to cut off my locks. At the time, I was about to turn 38. So I was like, ooh, this itch, I just keep getting it, but it feels right to cut them off at 40, because I'm entering in a new decade. Long story short, I woke up one day and I was like, they have to come off today. I think this might have been the 7/7 portal. So July 7th. I can't quite remember, but it was around that time in July, which was very ironic. I didn't connect the dots before. I started my locks in July, 7 years prior, do the math. And I woke up one day in July. I really need to go back and actually look at the date because I'm sure there's some symbolism there. And it was so strong that I had to release them that day. And I say release because it was bigger than just cutting off my locks. I was releasing energy. I was releasing past. It was a lot that I needed to release of who I was and where I have been over those past 7 years because I was entering into a new season. And I just deeply felt that. Another thing about me is I am fascinated with numbers and astroastrology and numerology. And I think I tried to avoid my curiosity of this for a long time, just from, I don't know if it was my religious background of thinking that that wasn't Christian or this, that, and the other. And even in, those 7 years, I made the decision to unlearn things that did not serve me. I also made the decision to lean into the things that I was curious about and that God was still present even in my moments of curiosity. But there was something that always fascinated me about planets and numbers. I would see synchronicity happen all the time with just seeing 1111, with C7, C444, like it just, numbers followed me. And the more that I started to get into it, I realized like, wow, I see 7 often, and 7 is my life path number. 1111, one of my master numbers, also shows up in my chart. And actually 1111 was the first number that I saw. I don't think you can see it, but I have it on my necklace here. And so there's a lot of symbolism on that, but maybe we can talk about that later. But anywho, 7th month, my life path is 7. 7 letters in my name. 7 just is my path. So I woke up that day and I was like, okay, I had to cut them off. I want to say it was, it must have been approaching the 7/7 portal. I think it might have been July 3rd. Anywho, I immediately went on to Facebook, tried to find somebody who might have been available, because I think, it was around the holiday time. And I was like, look, if I can't find nobody to cut them off today, I'm gonna have to cut them off myself. I did not want to do that. But when I tell you it was strong, it was like, today is the day to release this. I found a girl, shout out to Rochelle, and that even was a divine connection. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to like interview her so we can talk about that experience. And I met with her, I think the next day. Oof. And every lock that fell, it felt like a release. It really did. It really did. It was such a liberating feeling. I felt so much lighter when I cut it off, and everybody was asking, like, how do you feel? My words were light and liberated. The heaviness was gone, not just physically, but energetically. And fast forward, I started to go back and make the connection even back with numbers of like, wow, the symbolism of my birthday was coming. It was my birthday month. Again, I'm a life path 7. It was the 7th month of the year. I think it was even going into the 7/7 portal. I should have looked at my other transits in my chart of what was happening during that time. But yeah, man, it has been good for me. So I say this to anyone who is listening. Tune in. This year is a year to go inward. It's definitely a year to go inward. Do not ignore that voice that keeps showing up, that feeling in your gut that you have. Those are gifts. I definitely have the gift of intuition. I'm so grateful for that. That has been my compass throughout my life. And the more that I have turned to understand that, it's just been next level. Definitely next level for me. I also am excited just to share more about my thoughts around topics like this, because I think that the universe, God, is trying to get our attention with it. There's so much happening in the world right now. Everybody's looking for clarity. Everybody's looking for answers. And if we don't learn how to turn inward to get that divine guidance through these times, we're in trouble. I've always believed, I heard an elder once say, and it might even be in the Bible, I need to go look it up. I think it is in the Bible, where it says, as above, so below. Right? I remember hearing as above, so below. And that gave me peace around my curiosity around astrology, even of like, what is happening with, if you're familiar with zodiacs, right? It's kind of a similar thing. I was really curious about that, especially when it comes to people say, well, what is your moon sign? What is your rising sign? And the more that I started to do some research and knowing how planets influence my life, I felt so seen, and all of a sudden I understood myself in a whole new way. Everything made sense. I say everything, even down to where the moon is currently, makes so much sense in terms of what I am seeing showing up in my life right now. Okay. I know that we have, I think a full moon is going into Cancer this weekend. It's showing up. It's like right on point. So if you do nothing else, and this also intrigues you the way that it did for me, look up not just your zodiac, right? Many people just think of like your sun sign, but look at your moon, look at your rising sign. Like those things are hypercritical. So, my thought process is, if the moon has the energy of influencing waves in the ocean to move an ocean, and most of our bodies are made up of water, why do we not think that it would have an effect also on us as it does in moving the ocean and that level of influence? You know what I mean? So these are things that I think about. This is what I do in my downtime, is study myself. I study my natal chart. I'm learning to better understand the transit of planets and where they're showing up. I love researching the numbers and how they're showing up and what that means. And we used to be guided by all of this stuff, So I know that I am, even going back to my hair, I didn't realize it then, but I was completing my personal year of 9. And 9 represents endings, it represents closure. And so the reason why, that pull was so strong, like I'm telling you, I woke up and was like, today is the day. Today is the day. It had to go. It had to go. So that was my year of 9 for 2024. And I'm now entering my personal year of 1. And it has very much felt like I knew I was coming into a new season. Knew I was going into a new season. And I am. And I am trying to embrace all of that. A big piece of my year 1, I know, is not being afraid of showing aspects of me that are not conventional. I've always felt like the black sheep a little bit. The one that's just a little bit different. And gratefully, I'm starting to find people who also are interested in the things that I'm interested in, which I've talked about. I'm talking about now, because most people would never know that, oh wow, like you're into that stuff. And I'm like, yes, I can talk all day about divine communication and about transits in our natal chart and numbers and meditation, awakening, metaphysics. Oh my gosh, I love that stuff. Absolutely love that stuff. So I think I'll pause there. But if you ask me, why did I cut my hair? That's why. That's why. I was closing out a season in my life, year of 9, entering my year of 1. It didn't serve me anymore. It didn't serve me anymore. And maybe that's a message for somebody that's listening, is to be in tune with what is serving you your highest good and what is not. And to listen to the feeling that you have of knowing what and when you need to release it and trust that inner knowing, because you will know. Just like I knew that I would just know when it was time to cut my hair. And I trusted that I would get the knowing of when it was time. So I think this can apply to so much in our lives besides hair. Sometimes that is even just a first step, but you'll know when you know. You'll know when you know. When you have that feeling of unease, when repetition happens, when the thought just won't go away, when you energetically feel depleted, that is not a sign of being fully alive. When you feel weighed down, that means you need to go inward. And for me, I'll tell you this, whenever I start having those feelings, I go back to as above, so below. As above, so within. Look at your numbers. Look at your chart. Go look at your natal chart. If you don't know what that looks like for you, I remember just searching on Google, just type in, like, you may not be able to, I got an elder who was passed away. Shout out to Oliver Duro. He connected me with another elder who did my natal chart. So a lot of people do charge for that, but I'm sure you can be able to find something online. But even using an AI or just type in Google, help me find my what is my moon sign? What is my rising sign? What is my moon? And all of that is really determined by your birth date. Okay, so your month, your day, your year. It also encompasses the location of your birth. So you want to know what exact city you were born in, and then you also want to know the exact time. So all of that put together will give you your transits in your natal chart, which is very critical to giving you the exact placements of where certain planets were during your birth, which still follows you throughout your life and does impact you. And I can say it is never missed. Anytime I'm having these thoughts and I'm wondering, dang, am I just tripping? I'm just having a bad day. And then I go and look, and this planet is in retrograde, or this is full moon here, or maybe one day I'm just extra emotional. And then I go and look at, my transits, and, my moon is in Cancer, or whatever. It's a full moon. It's a waxing moon. So needless to say, go up. Okay. I just put on Threads, I think recently, if you are feeling lost in life, there's two directions that I want you to look in. Okay. The direction is up, right? Because I want you to look towards your creator for divine guidance. Okay. And then I want you to look within. Okay. Your soul lives there. There is a direct connection between up and within. So just remember, feeling lost and you're looking for a direction, look up and then go back and look within. And it's going to take some silence, some solitude for you to spend time with yourself, to get the clarity that you're needing. To spend time not only in prayer, because I was one that spent a lot of time praying, a lot of time talking, a lot of time asking and pleading and begging, God, can you please tell me what is my purpose? What's going on? What do I do? And recognizing that God talks to us in many different ways, right? And there is something within us that knows. And so stop looking for other people to give you the answers that you're seeking. Go within yourself. It's there, I promise you. Spend time, not just in prayer, but also in meditation. They say, prayer is when God you talk to God. And meditation is when God talks to you. So part of my charge, even for this coming year, because I do believe that our true new year is around the spring equinox, which I think is March 20th. My charge for this year is to deepen my spiritual practice. And I know that is so imperative for me because it also aligns with my life path number. So as you are studying and knowing, your, not just your zodiac sign, but your sun, your moon, your rising, also learn your numbers, what is your life path number? You can also Google that. There are plenty of free calculators to help you to find that out. Even go on, ChatGPT, just put in that prompt. My birthday is this date. I was born in this city on this time. Help me to identify my rising sign, my moon. Help me to understand, or tell me what my life path number is. Tell me what my personal year number is. Tell me what my destiny number is. There's so many different things, but that's actually a really good place to start. And I have some old books too. So let me know if this is a topic of interest. Because I feel compelled to talk more about this. I feel so deeply the same knowing that I had that it was time to release my locks. I have that same feeling to connect more, to share more, to communicate more, to trust more the wisdom that has been shared with me, and to share it with others. That feels like a necessity of something that I can't ignore. The same way that I couldn't ignore that feeling that it was time to release my locks on that specific day, and it had to be done. So this is me trying to be obedient to my highest self. Even if no one is watching, I know I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But if you have specific questions, put in the comments or just ping me on social media so that I can answer any and all questions. If you are even if you have things that you're going through, and you want someone to help process with, I would love to do that. And I know that is important because you can't talk to everybody about everything, you can't talk to someone about getting in a place of high frequency when they are in a low life state. When they are not in a state of consciousness to talk about growth, those type of things. So however I can serve you, reach out. I'm happy to be a partner in thinking through what you're going through. Not just what you're going through, but what you are growing through. So I want to invite you on this journey of finding our way together, finding our way to our highest good, finding our way to our highest self, finding our way to our purpose here on earth, finding our way back to joy, finding our way back to clarity, finding our way back to finding home within ourselves, understanding ourselves, preparing and asking for divine clarity and guidance on what is to come, because that wisdom is going to be necessary. I know that, especially in our political climate right now. We are in the age of Aquarius, and there is a level of truth and knowledge that is available to us, but if we don't know how to tap into it, we're going to be lost, and we can't be lost. We can't be lost. So I'm going to pause there. I am sending you so much love and light. I hope that these words reach whoever they are intended to reach. And I look forward to our future conversations. Okay? All right. Love and light to you guys. I'll talk to you soon.